Governments are no longer denying it. The military are no longer denying it. And even mainstream media no longer denies it. They're here and have been here for a very long time. The Mutual UFO Network has been on the front lines uncovering the truth since 1969. And now we're sharing the truth with you. Welcome to MUFON's What's Up with hosts Katie Griboski, Christopher DePerno, and Katie Cook, exclusively on the KGRA Digital Broadcasting Network. Wondering what's up? So are we.
What's up, Buttercups? Okay, I had to do that one time for one show just to get it out of my system. I always want to say that, so I got it out of my system. It is Thursday night, and you are listening to MUFON What's Up Radio, the show that says discovery starts with curiosity, and curiosity starts with MUFON. Thank you all for being here tonight. I hope you're all having a great week, and I hope you're tuning in to kgradb.com and checking out all their great content. As always, our show is brought to you by MUFON, the Mutual UFO Network, always asking that important question, are we alone in the universe? Boy, do we have a great show for you tonight. Not only do we have one guest, we have two guests, we have three guests. And to confuse us all, Katie, now we have a couple cookies coming in. So I am so looking forward to this show tonight. We're going to have a lot of fun with this show. First, I would like to introduce my co-host. You see her on Country Music Television, Katie Cook. Welcome, Katie.
Hello, sunshine. I always want to say that.
Yeah, let's get it all out right now.
Buttercup, sunshine. Yeah, this is going to be an awesome show. We're going to have a full house, and I'm so ready.
That's right, full house. Oh, and happy February, too. You're wearing your February red. So you're good in red.
I actually didn't know there was such a thing as February red.
I think of hearts and love and red. I don't know. It just came up with that just right off the cuff.
Yes, it is the month of love. I'm with you on that.
All right, let's bring in Chris DePerno out of New York. Welcome, Chris.
Hello, everybody. Oh, it's so good to be here. What a great show we have for you tonight. 3 abductees telling their stories as children abductees and teenagers. I can't wait to get into this interview.
I know it. It's going to be a good one. So, Katie, what do you have to kick us off this evening?
Yes, well, let's kick it off with a little smile. Our UFO meme of the week. This is a cute one. For those of you just listening, an alien is talking to a bottle. He says, "You don't look familiar." And the bottle says, "I'm from Area 57. It's the Heinz 57 meme. Got to do that. I thought that was cute. And I've got a paranormal pop of the week in honor of our chat last week, actually, with Dev Rooney. Remember, she brought up the Dog Man. So look at this. There's actually a Dog Man paranormal pop. How cute is that? I don't know. It's a cute little guy. And as always, you can order these pops at paranormalpops.com. Don't forget, they're made right here in America by hand. It's an awesome company to support. And they have just about everything paranormal and cryptid wise. So definitely check out Paranormal Pops and support them. And I found another, what's that? Were you going to say something?
I was going to say, what a great Valentine's gift.
That's what I was going to say, too. Great Valentine's Day gift, a pop.
The Dog Man or just the pops in general?
Well, I think that would be a perfect thing to get my wife.
Okay. All right. We'll see how that goes down.
Puppy love. You could say it's puppy love.
I think it's gone past puppy love. I think it's more like the cats coming out to fight. But hey,
okay, moving right along. I found another great UFO related gift. You know how I like to find these. Some stained glass. Look at this. It's a stained glass UFO dream catcher. It measures 9 inches tall, 8 inches wide, and it actually comes in a couple different colors. I'm not sure which color I like best. I think these are so cool. They are available on Etsy, and they are sold by Glass Art Room. So you can check that out on Etsy, and that might actually make a really cool Valentine's Day gift too. I don't know, Chris, this one might go down better than the Dog Man claw. Just saying.
No, I think the candy will be a lot better than a UFO glass. I love the UFO glass, but I'm going to go, here, honey, here's a piece of UFO glass you could hang in your window. I think the candy will be better. I can get away with the candy. I don't think I can get away with that.
All right, I trust you on
Good
that.
Lord, you're trying to make me separated, for God's sake.
Well, what's going on in UFO news this week, Chris?
All right. Well, let's start with our first headline. 2022 may be turning point in the study of UFOs. Interest in UFOs continue to grow both among scientists and government officials. In 2021, there was an upsurge in sightings thanks to people with smartphones and other video gear that captured these strange objects in the sky. Could they be, well, aliens? Go figure. Is Earth on the receiving end of extraterrestrials speeding from Alpha Centauri who found themselves with engine trouble and crashed? I'm not sure, but let's go on. For now, this remains a mystery. Nonetheless, in 2022, UFOs will get more attention from both the scientific community and the federal government. In June 2021, the U.S. military and intelligence community issued a report on UFOs. It was followed by Congress urging to establish a formal office to carry out a coordinated effort on the collection and analysis of related UFOs. The Pentagon says our national security efforts rely on aerial supreme, and these objects present a challenge to our dominance over the air. I don't think you're going to have a dogfight with a UFO, but what do I know? Staying ahead of the UFO sightings is critical to keeping our nation safe. Although the new office within the Pentagon will not just focus on the search for alien life, it will be tasked with providing a full spectrum of intelligence as well as scientific and technical assessments related to UFOs. One of the new UFOs office responsibilities will be to implement a plan to test scientific theories related to UFO characteristics and performances. Folks, they fly, they go zigzag, they go up and down at incredible speeds. You go ahead and try to test it. Now, there's a concentrated effort to build UFO spotting hardware and to decide where it will be stationed. With the technology in place, this year could be a turning point in the study of UFOs. The effort to detect, track, and measure UFOs in the field is real, and it can be done in real time. This has recently entered a new phase. The technology has gotten better, software tools have improved, and the current interest in UFOs have attracted a new qualified professionals. Scientists believe that these efforts are very likely to succeed, set up UFO research on a new foundation of reliable physical data, and therefore we will have even more evidence of what's needed. Are these UFOs real and can they be studied scientifically? Well, I just happen to have a UFO detection device. It is called, and I'll put that right up to the camera there. You hook it up right to your internet. Yeah, it's really cool. It's called a multiple anomaly detection and automatic recording system. You hook it right up, and believe it or not, if you have a magnetic anomaly that's flying through the skies, this will pick it up, and you will get an email from the main servers to saying, hey, you just had a UFO fly within 5 miles of your house. All right. So far, I have not seen the alien invasion, but I have had a few things come up. What do you think, Cookie?
Oh my goodness. First of all, talking about the UFO spotting hardware, what was that? You showed a picture a minute ago. It looked like a toilet to me when I first saw this. I was like, can my toilet do more than I thought it could? That's really interesting. I don't know. So, Chris, seriously though, what does this little gadget that you have do? Explain to me again.
This is called a MADAR 3. And what it is,
okay.
MADAR. And what it is, it picks up a magnetic anomaly detection. And basically what it does is anything that flies around in the sky, it doesn't pick up airplanes, doesn't pick up drones. It picks up something that has a magnetic anomaly around it. And it actually detects it. It goes to a main server that's run by a person by the name of Fran Rich, and you will get an email saying, hey, at these coordinates, at this time, this date, there was something that picked up that was very strange around your area. Now, there are tons of these all over the United States. I think we have like 12 or 13 in New York State alone. Yeah. And we can actually coordinate to see if there's a pattern of them flying. Is there a group of them? It's really a neat thing. It's very cheap, and it's a really neat thing. If you're into UFOs, this is a great thing to have to check out. First stage of it.
So that could be a good Valentine's gift too.
Yeah. I don't think my wife would like that, but hey, what
I keep trying.
I will tell you that fancy toilet seat that we just showed. She might like that. I don't know.
Hey, if it's a bidet as well, I mean, if it can pull double duty. Is there anything like false that could trigger the MADAR?
Oh yeah, I mean nothing is perfect. So,
Yeah.
but I mean normally, 747s and planes and aerolites and drones will not be picked up on this. If you bounce it up and down, I mean obviously it's going to probably register some kind of false readings, but it still will pick up a real genuine unknown craft up in the sky, and they're very interesting.
Do you have to get approved to get one of those, or can anybody get those?
Anybody can get them.
Okay.
Yep, you just get a hold of the MADAR 3 company, and I'm not getting in a penny for doing this. I just happen to have one. But you call the MADAR 3 company and you negotiate a price with them, and they'll set you up. They get your email. They send you one of these. The only thing that I don't have is the alarm. So if Martians come down at 2:00 in the morning, I do not want the alarm on this because it's very loud. It's very annoying. And I will get a baseball bat across the side of the head. So
that's how I feel about my weather radio. I mean, it's always going off. I'm like, ah!
Isn't that crazy? No, 2:00 in the morning, I don't care who's invading. I want to stay.
I'm the same way.
All right, let's go on to our second story. Witnesses in Brazil's UFO incident claims they saw and helped military capture an alien. A few people in the village in Brazil are coming forward and claiming they have witnessed a UFO and encountered one or more extraterrestrials. There were reports that the Brazilian military had captured 2 ETs. The military and the Brazilian government had never confirmed the UFO nor the aliens. They may change after this week when a man came forward claiming he was a soldier in 1996 and participated in the capture of the aliens and was in very close proximity to one of them. A former military person who claims he was that soldier and stuff and changed his life for other soldiers from his base to an undisclosed location. They went there and made an unusual observation. The first thing they noticed was they were carrying rifles with no ammunition in them. Now listen, I'm going to tell you folks, if somebody's giving me a rifle with no ammunition and say, go find an ET, I'm calling in sick. It ain't going to happen. All right. So anyways, while sweeping the area, the soldiers claimed he witnessed 2 other soldiers coming out of the woods carrying a strange being. The first thing that caught his attention was a very large head and very big red eyes. He also noticed that it was quite oily. Well, the hot sun, you want to get some tan lotion on you. Dark wood reddish or more iron-colored tint, but very oily and a weird smell that reminded him of acetone. I don't sniff acetone, so I can't tell you about that. James Fox went to Brazil, and he was able to locate 3 young ladies who had encountered with this creature. James did an incredible job. James Fox did an incredible job with National Geographic. I got part of the interview, and I'd love to show it to you. Amanda, play that video.
Purely by chance, I've managed to track down 3 primary witnesses who reportedly saw the live alien.
Hello. It's James.
I'd like to start off by saying,
but this is like, the holy grail of witnesses for me. So I am like so happy to be here right now.
can you describe to us what happened in January of 1996?
Então, você pode descrever pra gente o que aconteceu em janeiro de 96?
A gente estava voltando do serviço que ela trabalhava.
So, it was around 3 o'clock in the afternoon. This was not the usual way that they would take to go back home.
E olhei, falei assim, só pra ela assim, gente, olha ali.
She saw a little creature that was really sweating. There was like a little person but with no hair whatsoever, red eyes and 3 horns. She pointed to the other girls and started running the other way.
If they all had the opportunity to speak to the world about their experience, what would they like the world to know?
Pra mim não foi boa, não. Se fosse pra me passar por isso hoje, eu não passaria.
They said it wasn't a good experience at all. If they could choose, they wouldn't go through it again.
Wow.
What an ugly thing. That's the first
That
thing.
was kind of cute.
That's what I would have said.
What? Cute?
3 horns. I mean,
Yeah,
No, I
red
had
eyes, 3
6
horns.
words
Weird
for
taste.
you.
Yeah, I'll
Okay,
make sure I get
red
a Valentine's
eyes.
gift for that thing.
3 horns. I'm out. I'm out.
Yeah, me too.
No way.
Well, what do you think, Cookie?
Well, I think first of all, we could get it some proactive toner for the oily skin because, got to fix that right away. No, I'm serious. This thing really scares me. I'm not too big on the whole alien threat thing. And I pretty much am of the opinion most of the time that I don't think they mean us any harm. But if I saw that sucker, forget it. Forget it. That really freaks me. No, just stop
the teeth
that.
and the red eyes. The teeth and the red eyes. Yeah.
I can't do red eyes. I must have seen some horror movie when I was a kid and the monster had red eyes. And red eyes are never really going to be cute, are they? There's just something really creepy about that. Although you think it's cute, Katie. I don't know.
Just the red eyes I could do without. And the teeth are a little scary. Like it's like, it's kind of coming at you.
Showing it.
No, what struck me about that video, I mean, James Fox, I love James Fox. He's such an awesome guy. Love him. And he's so giddy and he's so happy to be there. But boy, the tone changed right away because this was a scary experience for these witnesses. And they were real serious. And you could tell like this impacted them greatly. So like to me, instantaneous, the tone changed and they were just, okay, this really isn't funny to them. I mean, it affected them obviously, and they were terrified. So
yeah,
I
right.
wonder how the soldiers felt. Can you imagine somebody saying, "Hey, listen, guys, come on out here. I want you to go in the woods. I'm going to give you a gun with no bullets. And by the way, you're going to be looking for an alien
with red eyes."
With red eyes.
Yeah.
I got to tell you, if I was one, like I said, if I was one of those soldiers, I'd be looking at my guy. It says, maybe we shouldn't do this. This is not cool.
I quit. Yeah, it's that spooky. And trust your gut, people. I know a lot of people will say, well, they really mean us no harm, and you're just scared because you don't understand what's going on. I don't know. I think humans are actually built with some pretty good instincts, and a lot of people have very, very positive experiences with these aliens, whatever they are, and a lot of people have bad experiences. I say trust your gut.
Right. Good advice, Katie.
Well, they always say put yourself in other people's shoes. So I put myself in the aliens, and I said, look at these crazy humans coming out after me.
Well, there's that. There's that.
Well, folks, you decide. Did the Brazilian military have an alien? You decide.
All right. Hey, Chris, did you happen to catch up with Bob Spearing for all of us?
Yes, I did. And once again, Bob did an amazing video for us. Amanda, would you play that video?
Hi, everybody. This is Bob Spearing. I am MUFON's Director of Investigations on the international side. This week, we have a series of 4 photographs from 4 separate cases between January 2nd and January 15th. They take place in Australia, and it is one witness. His name is Neil. Now, these are a very interesting set of photographs over this 2-week period. Neil claims that he keeps seeing objects flying over his house. So we're going to take each photo step by step and go through them. I'd like, Chris, if you could put up photo number 3. Initially, I thought this might be a plane, and the dark area that you see directly in the middle would be the wing seen at a certain angle. I have begun to discount that theory, first of all, because when you zoom in on this picture, it is a cylinder. It may have some sort of tail on the back, or it may be a light reflection, but the ratio of length to width is wrong. It's much shorter than a commercial airliner would be. So I was a little perplexed when I saw this, but then I realized Neil sent in some additional pictures. This is case 12279 on January 2nd. The next picture is from case 12305. 5. A couple of weeks later, picture number 4. I believe this is the same object over his house, and he got a great capture of it with an airplane, a commercial airliner flying by. You can tell that it's much closer than a commercial airline, and that in this picture, it seems to be the same object. It looks more barrel shaped, and that may be because of the angle. But then Neil sent more pictures. Picture number 5, Chris. This is from case 20341. This was taken on the 15th, almost 2 weeks after the first picture we showed you today, and it seems to be the same object. It looks, again, shorter and barrel shaped. It's too short to be an airplane. If you zoom in on this photo, the dark spot actually looks like the letter Y. It almost reminds you of the UMO UFO reports years ago. And then he submits on the same day yet another photo that is odd. Case 120342, picture 6, final picture. In this case, the object seems to be bent, almost like a peanut. So I, for one, am quite perplexed as to what is going on in this 2-week period in Australia. But these photos will be analyzed further. So right now, tentatively, I would say that this is an unknown UAV or series of similar looking UAVs. And that's where we are right now with it. We'll be contacting Neil shortly for all his cases. He sent in 8 different cases in all over a month period from Australia. So that's it. Thank you, Chris, for having me. And hopefully you'll be here next week and we can do some more. Thank you.
I didn't even need a case of the week. That's a pretty intriguing. The third picture was the one I liked the most.
Yes.
It looks like a Nimitz Tic Tac. That's
exactly. Yeah, and the one where it kind of looked peanut shaped is so bizarre. I mean, if it's the same thing, I think that's one of the most perplexing things about UFOs is when people say it literally seemed to change shape. You know, it's like that's where I really am like, what a true unknown if it can do that. I love it when Bob has an unknown because we don't get enough of those.
Yeah.
We definitely, but I'll tell you, if he says that's an unknown, I'd take that to the bank. And it's perfect shape of what Kevin Day talks about that he saw from the Nimitz in Commander Fravor and Underwood. Definitely an object just like that. And like you said, it's not long enough to be a plane. There's no wings on it. So, you know, the Tic Tacs are flying around Australia too.
Trying to freshen everybody's breath.
And stuff. All right, what do we got next?
I think we're just going to go ahead and bring in our guest. What do you guys say?
Let's do it.
Yeah, let's do it. So my glasses broke. I tossed the ear thing. So, okay. I need the tape. All right. Our first guest is Jim Mann. Jim Mann is the former Arizona State Director for MUFON. He was in that position for 10 years before his retirement. He was instrumental in creating the UFO boot camp in Phoenix, which Katie and I attended this last year, and is awesome. Shout out to Stacy Wright. Hey, Stacy. It's an elite training school for the study of UFOs. But there's more to Jim Mann. As a child, Jim was abducted by aliens, and instead of instead of being examined like a regular abduction, he was taught to use his mind to move objects of different colors. Jim was with a group of children, all abductees, and all were schooled on telekinesis. Jim's screen memory had broken down, and he started remembering the classes and the people involved. Jim was startled when another abductee contacted him, searching for Jim, and the two of them were alien classmates. Welcome to the show, Jim Mann.
Hi, Katie. Hi, everyone.
Hello, Jim.
Chris. Both Katie.
Hey.
I saw both you two at the boot camp, didn't I?
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
That was a good time.
I did the certificates. So when I do all those certificates for everybody, I'm kind of eager to see the face behind all those certificates.
Right. Always good to put a face behind the name.
Yeah,
and if you're listening to this, you need to get out there next year because it's always a great time. We always have such a good time for sure. Okay, our next guest is Terry Lovelace. Terry is a well-known figure in ufology. He was the Assistant Attorney General for the Samoan Islands, U.S. government territory. For several years, Terry kept a very dark secret. He was an abductee while serving in the United States Air Force as a medic. But even a darker secret. As a child, Terry remembered being abducted, and he too was in a class with colored objects. The goal was to try to move these objects with their minds. Terry was in the same situation as Jim, with other children learning. Later on in life, Terry discovered that he had an implant put in his leg, and it was discovered on an X-ray. Please welcome Terry Lovelace.
Hi, everyone.
Hello, Terry. How are you?
I couldn't be better.
Oh, that's just Ducky.
Ducky. Welcome to the show. It's great to finally meet you. I've heard about your work, and I look forward to hopefully meeting you at a conference one of these days.
One of these days, when we do that again.
Yeah, exactly. It's coming. It's coming. I have hope. I have hope. Our next guest is Cookie Stringfellow. Cookie is a MUFON member and is considered very knowledgeable about abductions. Why? Because Cookie is an abductee. Featured in the New York Times, Cookie was also abducted as a teenager, and she too was given classes by aliens. But while in the classroom, she saw her friend Bud Hopkins sitting there as he was abducted. Cookie also discovered that she had been implanted behind her ear. Welcome to the show, Cookie. Another Cookie.
Thank you. Hi, everyone.
Hi.
Hello, Cookster.
Hi, Chris. It wasn't Bud Hopkins that
it wasn't.
It was Bob Dean, Command Sergeant Major Robert O. Dean.
Oh, Bob
Dean. A ufologist and speaker at many conferences.
All right, that makes sense.
You know, Cookie, Bob Dean was a friend of mine, and I was so upset when the guy passed.
I miss him. I'm looking at a picture of him right now, right up here above my computer. I look at him.
What a wonderful guy.
I miss him. He was like a father.
Yeah.
I just miss him so.
Well, I apologize for that. I was just
That's
reading what was written here. So
all right, well, let's get the show on the road here.
Yeah, let's do that.
Bob Dean, Bob Hopkins. It was a Bob. All right. So, anyways, Jim, let's talk about your abduction.
Oh, wait. But I think we wanted to start the show off with a little fun, a little game before we get into describing the abductions. We thought it would be kind of fun to run a double blind game here, and our three guests graciously accepted. And so I thought it would be fun to ask our three guests some questions and have them write the answers on a piece of paper, and then we're going to share answers to see what they recall. I thought it would be fun thing to kind of do for all of us. So
it's like the dating game.
Yeah, it's like a dating game. Katie, do you want to start off with the first question for these guys?
Oh, I thought you wrote them down. Sorry. Well, yeah. Okay. So let's, I'll think of a couple here. Let's do, okay. You were all taken when you were young and taught something in like a classroom style. Let's start with the shape of the room. Do you remember what the shape of the room was?
I need to have my glasses on.
See it?
Uh-huh.
Huh?
Okay.
Oh, interesting.
Oh, okay. Oh, okay.
Wow. All right.
Interesting.
Interesting.
Oh,
all right.
I got the chills.
I got the chills too. All right. Let's do the color of the room, the ambiance, the color of the room.
Okay.
Gray floor. I didn't write that down, but gray, like rubberized floor.
Wow.
Okay, this is cool.
This is super cool. Oh my goodness. All right. Let's see. What would be another good question? Maybe the type of objects that you use to train with telekinesis? This is a hard one, I would think. Memories are tricky.
I'll explain this later.
Okay.
Okay. Oh, interesting.
Can you see that?
Yep.
Yeah.
Interesting. Okay.
I had a black cube, pardon me, a blue, navy blue cube.
Oh, interesting.
Okay.
All right. Cookie, do you want to kind of explain?
My classes were not for telekinesis. They were about what to do with the humans if there is disclosure.
Interesting.
Ooh,
All right.
okay, we're gonna have to get to that.
Yeah. All right. Let's do
Yeah.
one more for fun. Let's
Yeah.
do one more for
Have you
fun.
got
Let's-
one?
Yeah. How about the type of being or ETs?
Yeah.
This is cool.
This is so cool. Okay.
Then the 4 foot.
Right.
Oh, wow.
Okay.
I would have put taller grays on there, but
Okay.
Okay. All grays. Wow. Well,
Wow.
that is something else. I mean,
I have one question.
Ooh.
So, if you were dating an alien, where would you take them on their first date? Cookie, you first. Come on, Cookster. Where would you take an alien on their first date?
Salem.
Where?
Salem, Massachusetts.
Oh, you're no fun. Terry.
Either White Castle or Denny's.
Oh, you're a man of my heart. Cheap date. Jim?
I don't date grays.
Good
Okay,
answer.
I'm done.
Hey, Terry, really quick, were you holding up the female sign?
I was
Okay.
a petite female, 4 foot tall, gray.
Okay.
Yeah.
The other two, Cookie, did you have a sense if your teachers were male or female?
Well, they're the ones that took us, but the teacher itself was like 7.5 feet tall. If you had to describe it, it would be a Nordic, and she was obviously a female.
Okay.
But there's a little, when it's my turn, I'll tell you a little bit more about that. There was a male also.
Okay, Jim, male, female?
It was impossible to tell.
Okay.
And I'll go into that after a while.
Okay.
All right. Well, maybe what would be a good idea, since I would love to, I mean, I've never heard any of these stories before. So, I mean, if it's all right with everybody, I would just like to, spend a few minutes to just kind of run us through your experience, where it happened, how old you were, what you remember about it. And a question I kind of had too is, did you forget about it for a while? And then did recall come back in? So maybe we'll start with Cookie, if you can, and we'll just go to Terry and then Jim.
All right. The first time I was taken was in my 20s, not in my teens. I have not done regressive therapy about that, hypnosis. I'm going to. I only did the regression for the times I was put in the classes, 6 times. That started approximately, that first date I don't have yet. I have the rest of the dates. In 2010. And one time when I was on, the Grays came into my room, the room right behind me. This is my bed back there. I woke up in the middle of the night and I felt tingly all around me. And within seconds, they were standing in the end of my bed. And they were taller than the 4 foot ones. I had seen them before, but only the 4 footers. These were more like, I'm 5'3". They were my height. And their heads were a little different. They were thin, typical gray. They took me out the window, which is right the other side. I keep getting my left and right wrong. This is the window they took me out of, up into the ship. It was cloaked. I didn't realize that till later when I asked. I was put in a classroom with approximately 20 other people, and they kept changing, 18 to 20, 18. Some would be taken, some wouldn't. Humans, a few non-humans that are here on the earth, I was told. A tall, very pretty woman, I guess you'd have to call her a Nordic, taught us some of the things we were told never to mention. I'm sorry, I can't. All I can tell you is that there are people much more than us that will be like, not a real ambassador, but similar to that, to help people understand if and when they do come. Can't tell you that either. I'm sorry. And one thing in particular we were told is not to talk to the other people in the room, other entities. If we bumped into them, don't discuss it, what we were told. It went for about 3 hours each class. It was very interesting. They did offer us what the others are talking about if we wanted to do the telekinesis, and we all of us said no, let us do one thing at one time. So we never did get into that. But each time we were given more information and more information until all of us kind of talked with, you couldn't look at each other, unfortunately. They asked us not to look at each other. I did look at one woman. We were kind of in a semicircle. I could see her. And back in, when it was 7 years ago, that I was in Toronto at a conference, and this woman walked up to me. I'm sorry, I can't tell this story without getting upset. And she said, I know you. And I looked at her, and she was the one that was around the corner on the ship with me. And we were told, do not talk to each other. And at the time, I did have an implant, which I've since had removed. And both of us got a message. Don't talk to each other. It was very firm. Don't talk to each other. And we just looked at each other. We wanted to embrace and greet each other normally, but we just turned around and walked away. And it was because of that I had it removed. I didn't want to be under surveillance. And it wasn't a good experience. It was kind of sad. And it bothers me to this day that I don't know who this woman is. I don't know if she lives here. I don't know. And I want to know. And I'll probably never see her again. And it hurts me. It was very disturbing. And what else would you like to know about it?
What did they teach you?
I can't tell you, Chris. I can only say that we're here to help the people who are afraid, who don't believe, like my sister. You mentioned ghosts and she's happy. You say UFO to her and she blah, 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 blah. She doesn't want to hear it. And there's many people like that that are afraid. And they have given us an instruction on what to say to calm these people. And there's quite a few of them all around the world.
So,
go ahead.
So even though it was kind of a sad, fearful event for you, you still feel that we really have nothing to fear.
No, they have told us that if and when, I'm sorry, I can't discuss that, if and when they do disclose themselves, and the joke was in the room, they're not going to land on the White House front lawn. You know, America is not good enough, were the words basically, to protect the whole world. Not protect, but to explain the situation to the whole world. They'll do it themselves. And that's what we were told.
Wow, amazing story.
That is amazing.
Terry.
Wow, thank you for sharing that, Cookie.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Terry,
thank you so much.
let's hear about your abduction as a child and
Sure.
what you went through.
As I explained in my book, I got abducted by little circus monkeys. I know that sounds crazy, but there were always 4 of them, and they would appear in my room, and there would be a flash of light and like a swirling motion, and I'd be on the ship. I'm sure it was a ship of some kind, and there were maybe a dozen kids there, and it was always the same kids, and it wasn't kids that I recognized from the neighborhood or daycare or anything like that. They took me when I was 4, and we were talking about telekinesis and moving things with our mind. I remember sitting, and all us kids were in our night clothes. And I remember sitting cross-legged on the floor, and there were these geometric shapes, a pyramid, a globe. I had a cube. My cube was blue. And I remember that when I picked it up, it felt like it had no mass. I mean, if I let go of it, it would drop to the ground, but it didn't seem like it weighed anything. And I was encouraged to move it with my mind. And we were sitting on the floor, and I had it in front of me, and I was really getting frustrated because nothing happened. And I think this was at least one day. It was 2 occasions. And then I was concentrating on moving the thing, and it flew about 2 feet. And we had what I call a handler. I referred to her as Sue because she looked like the Asian woman who lived in back of us when I lived in St. Louis, Missouri, who we all called Sue. And then I had Space Sue and Terrestrial Sue. But this 4-foot tall woman was not really gray, more pale, like very pale skin, and looked, her eyes were black and not huge, large, exaggerated eyes, more like a pair of Ray-Bans that wrapped around. And I saw her as kind of a maternal figure. And she was very kind to us kids. And when this thing moved, she came over and gave me high praise, and so that was that. Interesting.
Wow. Were you taken more than one time? Do you remember? Just a quick question there.
Yes, I was. I was multiple times between the ages of 4 and 6, especially. And then they would take me. But I don't have a lot of memory about when in the later years when they would take me. But it was the same. It was the same little monkeys. You know, I have a theory about this. I think that these things can appear to children in a way a child will see it as most benign. Mm-hmm. And I saw these things as kind of comical, and but I came to be afraid of them.
Mm-hmm. Interesting. All right. Well, thanks for sharing that. Let's get to Jim before the break. And then I have so many questions. I'm sure Katie and Chris do too.
As best I can tell, it was 1958. I was about 5 years old. I was 5 in 1958. And it was in the early hours of the morning. Being 5 years old, I don't remember who was coming in and taking me, but I walked through the house, went right out the back door. 1958, nobody locked their doors in our little town in Illinois. We walked out that back door, and I don't know who had me by the hand, but I was in sort of a dream state, sort of a lethargic little boy, half asleep, walking out the back door. These memories of those times are very, they're very sketchy, but they're there. And went out, and I got into a vessel. I got into what I thought was a bus. I remember I was a little guy, and I was just coming up on kindergarten. And so this thing was a bus to me, and I would get in there and we would go away. And I remember looking out the window and looking at what I thought was the moon, and looking at it, and looking back down, I could see the chimney of the house. I could see the roofs of all the houses. I could see the trees. And I just, as a little guy, half asleep, and then I turn and I look up here at this other direction. It looked like the moon, and it was just getting bigger and bigger and bigger as we were getting. And then it's just like in dreams, you know, sometimes we all have dreams, and we remember the dream that we're at the mall or we're at school, but we don't remember all those times when we go from the parking lot to the front door, those insignificant points. You remember the events, and that's what I remember. But I do remember riding the bus. And once we were inside, once we walked out of the bus, we walked down the hallway, and we went into a number of different rooms. But the final room we went into was just like Terry said, we sat on the floor cross-legged, and maybe 15 or 20 kids in there. I don't remember. I mean, who knows? Now, as far as could I see the people that were handling us? Yeah, I could see them from the floor to about their waist, because I was just kind of sleepy and tired, and I couldn't lift my head up, but I could take instructions. And there was nothing else on my mind except for what they were telling us. And so they would hand us these little round balls, maybe the size of a small beach ball, and they would be different colors. And then I would hear either someone whispering in my ear, or it was just coming to me that said, Jimmy, think really, really hard and take that ball in your mind and you send it over to little Susie across the way, or little Bobby across the way. And so that's what we would do. We would concentrate. And if my mind started to drift in a different direction, I would be brought back. Bam. You know, if I started thinking, well, I want to go home and go back to bed, they would bring me back. And so I started concentrating real hard on this little ball, because I didn't want to be messed with. And it's like, okay. It's kind of like when mom and dad are really after you to stay on top of something. And I could finally move that thing. I could move it all the way across the room to the other person. Now, the thing was, we would have different color balls. Sometimes I'd get the green ball or the red ball or the blue ball. But I do remember that I could move the blue ball, I could move the red ball, but I couldn't move the yellow ball, couldn't move the black ball. And that went on. And what else can I tell you? It's a huge story, guys. I don't think we have enough time for this.
Keep going, Jim.
Yeah. Now, this thing, I would wake up in the morning and I'd go in and tell mom I had this dream. And mom would, Jimmy's got such a vivid imagination, and you just had a bad dream. Well, same dream over and over and over. And mom would take me to the doctor because she thought there was something wrong with me, and get my ears checked and my eyes checked, and, little 5 and 6, 7-year-old kid. So finally in 1962, it ended rather abruptly. And I just let it go for 50 years. I spent 20 years as a fairly religious man. I was actually a Jehovah's Witness for 20 years. And the whole time, of course, that's not within their theology for anything like that to happen to a person. So I kind of suppressed it. And I moved from Illinois to Arizona in 97. And I thought to myself, I got to get to the bottom of this stuff, because it's kind of been bothering me. So I started checking into UFOs and this and that. I met Stacy. We got involved in MUFON. And then I met a lady who sat down, was telling her experience, and it was exactly the same as mine, just like all of us here. And of course, I about fell out of the chair, because how could that person actually tell my same experience? And then, yes, I had a guy come up to me at the UFO Congress. He is, I won't say his name, but he is a chiropractor in Portland, Oregon. He wanted to talk to me. He remembered my name. And then when he called me a couple of weeks later after the Congress, we had a chance to talk. And yeah, I do remember him. It wasn't always the same kids in the room, but I did remember this one fella because he had these certain kind of pajamas on, and his name was Benny. And so that started opening up for me. Now, got involved in MUFON. I was a state section director in those years. Barbara Lamb came over, and Barbara and Stacy decided Jim needed to go under hypnosis. And of course, I said no for the first couple of years. And finally, I sat down with Barbara, and we went through a rather lengthy session, about 2 hours. And Barbara was quite impressed. She came out and told Stacy that was one of the best hypnosis she ever did. I also sat down with Kathleen Marden. She did the same thing, and we came up with the same ideas, or basically the same story. So it was, hypnosis wasn't anything like I thought it was. Yeah. You know what? When I sat down with Barbara Lamb, and I was quite a skeptic in those years. I didn't believe in all of this. I'm an old farm boy from Illinois, you got to. And but when I sat down with Barbara and she regressed me, and the clarity came back to me, I could remember the color of the rug on the floor. I could remember looking down off the side of the bed. We had hardwood floors in my little bedroom. You could see the cracks between the slats and the hardwood floor. I remembered the color of the carpet, and I actually called up my mother. I said, "You remember back in 1960, 1959, that rug that was right beside the bed?" She says, "Oh yeah." And I said, "Was it this color and that color?" She said, "Yeah, how could you remember that? That's exactly what it was." So the whole hypnosis thing was pretty cool. But after going through this with Barbara, there's so much that was revealed, and it just rolled out of me like a story. And it's not hard to talk about. There was a lot of things that happened. I don't have anything that I would hide. I was never afraid, basically because I was just too tired and kind of altered in my thinking and my state. Sorry, my phone keeps going off here.
Jim, I'd love to.
I had a handler too, and here's what's really weird. That handler, it's all weird, right? That handler said goodbye to me one night in 1962. Came into my bedroom and kind of flew over top of the bed and looked at me as he went through the wall. Okay, so that was quite a memory. Now, fast forward about 50 some years, and I'm in MUFON, and I'm reading the MUFON investigative manual, and I'm looking through these pages, and I see all these drawings of all these different people have submitted to MUFON, and those of you that are investigators, Chris, Katie, you know that section in the field investigators manual where you have all those pictures of those various entities. And I'm sitting on Stacy's couch, and I'm flipping through that thing, and I come to a picture that just jumps off the page and just almost knocks me off the couch. But that was the guy. Wow. Or whoever. And I jumped up off the couch. I threw that manual down. I said, "Stacy, come and look at this." And I said, "That's the guy right there." And that's quite eye-opening. That's an emotional experience.
Jim, we've only got a couple minutes before we go to break. But no, what I was going to say, since you just told us that, maybe we could use just these next 2 minutes. Can you describe that guy, that handler? What was it about that picture that made you go, "That is him"?
Now, keep in mind that this is the early 60s, okay? So spacemen on the television were like Buck Rogers and Flash Gordon. You didn't see guys in full environmental suits, helmets and tanks and hoses and all of that. That wasn't what a little guy like me would have seen. But this thing that came over top of me was in a full environmental suit. I could see its face through the face shield of the helmet. I remember seeing tubes coming down this way and around its stomach, and it came into the room and kind of went like this and went right over the bed. And as he went over the bed, I remember him turning his head. And now I felt comfortable with this guy because I'd seen him before. So I knew he wasn't harmful. But it was pretty late at night. And I looked up at him and he looked down at me because he was coming right towards the window. And there was light coming into the window, probably a full moon or maybe the street lamp outside on the street. But I could see him and I could see his face. And he looked at me with these really dark, deep eyes. But they were human. They weren't like gray. And he looked at me, and it was almost like, "See you later, Jim. Thanks." And he left, and that was the end of the story. And that was, I think, in '62, before we moved north into the Chicago area.
Wow.
But yes, he was in a full environmental suit and he was flying, so maybe it was an anti-gravity suit.
Well, a couple things real quick. I was born in Illinois as well, so moved out to Colorado in 1970, Park Ridge, and lived in Des Plaines. And I think all three of you, Terry and Cookie, are very brave to come forward. I was put under by Leo Sprinkle as well, and I am just not so comfortable as you all are. During break, I want to go find those images in my FI manual. Maybe I can hold them up and you can tell us, Jim, which one it was. Because when you said tubes, I'm like, oh my gosh, there's the tube guys again. Wow, this is just captivating. I hope you are all enjoying this as much as we all are, because I'm just glued to everything Cookie and Terry and Jim are saying. Stick with us. We will be back right after the break with Cookie Stringfellow, Terry Lovelace, and Jim Mann.
I don't want to talk about it.
I don't want to talk about it.
Families don't have to talk about everything, but they should talk about how to plan for an emergency. Get tips and resources to make your family's emergency plan.
Hey members, the new KGRA-DB app is now available on iOS and Android devices. Gain on-demand access to any KGRA-DB programming. Download any show directly to your mobile device to listen or watch on the go. Go to the App Store and search KGRA-DB.
Welcome to the new KGRA digital broadcasting website, thekgradb.com. Here you'll find great new content, including the KGRA Classics, great shows from our archives. You'll be able to see the show times and information so you can see what show is currently on air. The on-air live button, so just go to this section and you'll be able to hear the show live with exceptional sound quality. We also have the Vault section. Make sure to subscribe to get access to great content and special features. We have the make content for our latest news and events, so make sure to sign up and you can be part of our forum. So make sure to check out the new KGRA digital broadcasting website, thekgradb.com. We look forward to seeing you there, and we hope that you enjoy the new website.
All right. Me and Katie always get a groove on during the break. Woohoo. Welcome back, everybody. All right. So really quickly ran into my cabinet here. And I found, I don't know, these might be old, so they might not be on here. The one I was thinking that you were describing might be this guy here.
That's him, Katie.
This him?
That's it.
Yeah, that's the one I was thinking. That is so interesting. And I've always found it really interesting also that descriptions seem to change through the decades. You look at these cases in the 60s and 70s, and they seem to, have belts and suits and boots and that. And then as time progresses, they kind of change. And I don't know what's up to that. And I don't know if other investigators have noticed that as well, but I certainly have. It's really fascinating.
It's a creepy looking guy.
Yeah, absolutely.
So Cookie, I'd love to go back to what you were talking about when you heard the message, do not talk to her. And you said you had the implant removed. The first thing that brought up in me, my natural response to hearing that story was just, how and I know I don't mean to get heavy and negative, but how an abuser will keep people separate so that they can't communicate to each other. And I'm not suggesting that this was, an abusive kind of situation. I don't know. But that just immediately was my reaction to that was, well, how dare they tell you that you can't speak to other people? There could be a big grand vision behind this, and it could be part of our protection that you're not supposed to talk to other people. But it affected me that way. It upset me just hearing that story. I know you've had the implant removed, so are you no longer getting those kind of messages to stay away from other experiencers?
No, I'm not.
Okay, so what do you think would happen if you were to find that person that you were told not to speak to, and you guys connect and you talk about what you went through? What do you think would happen?
Well, that's hard to say. I never thought of it. I think possibly a light that might be taken again and told that they would erase my mind. I don't know. I really don't know. I never thought of it. The chances are ever seeing her again, though, are so rare. I don't know if she would want to talk about it. I don't know at the time if we were to meet. I go to a lot of conferences, and I'm sure she does. I might see her again. And without the chip, I stopped being taken 4 years ago. So at my own request, I was done. I felt I had everything I needed. They had told me, I can tell you a little bit more. I did write it down, what I could tell you, if you want to hear it.
Yes,
absolutely.
They basically said when they do come, it would be peaceful if we didn't, for lack of a better word, they used a different terminology, shoot at them, which the military is going to try that. They have ways of stopping that. And they said that the transition of learning how to be a species that is not going to shoot and kill each other. We're very violent. They said that a lot. They told us you're a very violent species. Basically, when you look at the universe, we're a young species to them, but extremely violent. They keep pressing that over and over again. And during hypnosis, I was told that again, and I was told to remember everything from the hypnosis. And that bothered me that when I looked around, I do a lot of research, and we are very violent people around the world. I live outside of Rochester, and every night there's shootings. Every night, 5, 6, 7, 8 shootings. Some people die, some don't, but that's just, Rochester's not too big anymore. Compared to the rest of the world, we are violent. And they hope to educate us, change it a little bit, but peacefully. They said it would be peaceful unless we retaliated.
Okay. Oh.
Can I do a follow-up question to that? Did you and Bob Dean ever talk about a Cookie?
Yes, I was going to tell you that. This is kind of a cute story, real quick. I won't even tell you all of it, but I was in class, and we heard voices behind us. The door was open. It was kind of a round door with no door. It was just open. And we heard voices, and some of us turned around, and I turned around, and I blew Bob a kiss. But after I got back home, that part I remembered. I said, well, if if I blew him a kiss, that means I've met him before. That was really weird. And then the two of us physically met for the first time at the International UFO Congress in 2012. And said, that wasn't the first time, Cookie. We've been taken many times together. He was like a dad to me, very close. I traveled with him, and so
we'll leave it right there. All right. So, Terry, I got a question for you and Jim. Same question. I'll start with you, Terry. Did they give you any idea why they were teaching this or training you? I mean, going off of what Cookie says, that we're a violent people, which we are. There's no question about that. Why would they start training? What was they give you any meaning to your training? Did they explain to you we're doing this because of what?
Well, no, they didn't. And, you know, the difference between Cookie's experience and mine is, and I think I'll let Jim speak for himself, but I was so young. I was, you know, started when I was 4. And they never gave me a clue. I don't have a clue to this day what the object of the exercise was. But yeah, I don't know.
Jim?
I can answer that, at least for me. I found out later on after I became a MUFON state director and went around and met a lot of people. We were all being trained in the early 60s, the late 50s, up into the 60s. The back engineering program in this country included, of course, trying to figure out how to fly certain crafts. And then they decided, or they determined that these crafts would interface with the pilot. The craft was actually an extension of the pilot's mind, I guess. That's how there wasn't levers and buttons and all that, but you interfaced with the craft. The craft became just like an artificial limb or something. And what
sort of a consciousness with the craft.
Yeah, what you needed in order to pilot these crafts were these abilities, were these gifts of these psychic gifts, these abilities to extend yourself out, and your intelligent control extended outside of your body, telekinesis. And I was told by other people who were abducted, but much later than I. And of course, they were more. One of the persons I talked to was an adult, and at the time of their abduction, and they said that the whole reason behind that is that there was a collaboration between an alien species, which we believe is the Greys, and of course black projects here on Earth. Now, whether it was United States or just a worldwide black project, and trying to find out how to fly these crafts. So this person said, yeah, well, they were trying to see at a young age as children who had the possibility, who had the ability to could set down on one of these crafts and actually fly it. And that's what I was told.
That makes sense. I have a couple question twofold, both for Terry and Jim. I'm not sure. I think it was Jim. You mentioned that the different colors, you were able to move some colors and not others. Is that because the density or the energies were heavier and more difficult? So you start with a color that's lighter. And I find that fascinating because in just my mind, I would think like a light yellow would be lighter and then move to blue. And then, as you got to the darker colors, black and maybe it would be denser and heavier to move. And the second question is, are you guys still practicing telekinesis just, today, just in your regular lives? Do you consider yourself to have any like psychic powers or?
Go ahead, Terry.
I don't think I have any telekinesis abilities whatsoever. I wish I did. I'll say this: I've always been intuitive, and I just wonder if that was a gift or something from them, because I have very good intuition sometimes.
Yeah.
Episodically. And I'm sorry, what was the other question you asked?
The density of the objects that you were trying to move. Did you have that experience as well?
I did. I had a blue cube, maybe blue cube about this big. It's the only geometric form I remember handling. But, I was 4. There may be stuff I forgot. I don't know. But I do, as I said earlier, recall that when I picked it up, it felt like it had no mass to it.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, Katie, to answer your question, the difference between the blue ball and the black ball, the reason we see colors is because that's the frequency that is reflected from that object. That's the frequency that object rejects. It absorbs all other light frequencies. So the black ball absorbs all light. The red ball, the blue ball, the yellow ball reflects, because of the chemical composition of that ball, it reflects yellow, it reflects blue, it reflects green. Black balls absorb everything. White balls reflect everything. Silver balls, things like that. So I'm sure that there's probably, that's our answer probably lies in that. I think that our ability of psychokinesis really doesn't have a whole lot of a dependency on how heavy an object is. To quote Yoda, there was no try, there was only do.
Right. I like that. Yoda, my favorite.
Oh yes.
And that was kind of the case in this school. No, if you can't do it, you can't do it. Well, I'll try. No, if you can do it, you can do it. If you can't, you can't. It's kind of like there's no try, there's only do. And but there was definitely a difference between the blue ball, the black ball, and the red and yellow and the green. And I think that it probably has something to do with light frequency and what have you. So I don't know.
It makes me. I've been told that looks more like Bernie Sanders.
Hey, this is not a political show now.
Now, Jim, do you still practice that today? Just real quick, I wanted him to.
I've tried many times to roll the pencil across the table and stuff like that, and no, I just wear out too quick.
Right. Yeah. And Katie, I've been practicing that spoon bending. I was going to make a video of it because it's kind of funny. I'm still working on it though.
I think I flunked out, so they didn't use me.
Well, it makes me think, okay, so somebody told me once that I had something, I'm not going to pronounce this right, but it's like synesthesia or something like that, because I remember realizing probably in my mid-20s that not everybody associates color with everything, every letter, every word. I can tell you what color it is and why. I can tell you the personality of the letter and all this. And when I realized that everybody didn't do that, my mind was blown. And I've got this weird obsession with colors. I actually would love to do a really in-depth study, go back through MUFON's cases and see if I can connect color to certain behavior and maneuvers with craft. And so I don't even have a question around that as much as I just am backing up the idea that color there's something so much more important to it than I think we can understand. But if I could ask a question of each of you, and we can start with Cookie, I'm just wondering if you have any sense of whether or not you were chosen for these experiences or they just randomly selected you.
I believe my mother had been taken. My mother never discussed it. When she died in my home. She told me. So I'm assuming that's why I was taken. I am a medium. Many in the room were mediums, I discovered too. And just, they had said they were. And I don't think I was picked specifically, although maybe I was. I really don't know. I haven't done that in hypnosis yet. That's
okay.
Good, though.
Well, can I, and I want to hear Terry and Jim answer the same question, but can I just quickly ask you whether or not you feel like you had those skills and then were taken, or if being taken somehow enhanced those skills?
I think they took me because I am a medium.
Okay.
I think they knew that that I would keep the secret.
Oh, interesting. Okay. Terry, do you feel like you were chosen or random?
You know, I have two older sisters who were had a bedroom directly across the hall from me, and you know, I'm screaming bloody murder in the middle of the night because these monkey things scare me, and then of course when I got transported to, you know, the room where the other kids were, I was fine, but my sisters refused to talk about it as adults. And wouldn't talk about it other than to say they were absolutely certain they'd never been taken. So I don't know. I mean, it's just speculation, but I think maybe I was chosen for some reason. And you know, the thing about mediumship or about having I just call it increased intuition. I don't know if that's a cart before the horse kind of argument, you know. Was I picked because I had that, or did I gain that? I always felt like I gained something from this exercise, from being on this thing. So, but I don't know. Maybe I had those skills before and just never thought about it.
Do you think there's a military connection to your abduction? I mean, you later went on to join the military. And I hear that from abductees and experiencers that either they personally have a military connection or their fathers or somebody in their family, their brothers, aunts, uncles, whoever, somebody in the family lineage will have a history. Do you connect that at all?
Well, I was on active duty at the time that they took me as an adult. My last experience was about age 11, and then I had 11 years of peace and no interaction with them at all that I can remember. So I was 22, I was in the Air Force, and we actually weren't on the Air Force base. We went on a camping trip. We were remote camping at a place called Devil's Den State Park in Northwest Arkansas. So, but I got to say this, it was a 6.5 hour drive down there. And this is kind of hard to put in the right words, but it felt like we were keeping an appointment. And I just do not believe that we stumbled down there by happenstance.
Wow.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Having read your book, I definitely don't think you did. Jim, do you feel like you were chosen or random?
That's a good question. At the time, my father was experiencing PTSD. Of course, they didn't have PTSD. They had it. They didn't have it labeled. A veteran of World War II. He was on the USS Lexington, Battle of the Philippines. He was a gunner up on the bridge, and he had a lot of PTSD. I don't know if that had anything. I wasn't in the military. I don't know if that had anything to do with it at all. Random. I don't know, but I can tell you this, and I don't want to go down the woo-woo path. My mother had. Just hours before I was born, my mother had died not really died. She flatlined, and just an hour or so before she had me back in 1953, she had flatlined, and they had to bring her back. And her story was to me in later years. She said, you went to the other side with me, and she said I went down the tunnel, the light. I went to the light, she says, kicking and screaming all the way. And so she always told me that the veil between me and the other side is kind of thin. And that's kind of scary, really. But I don't know if I believe that, guys. But I don't know. Was it because I was the son of a veteran of World War II? Was it because I was the son of somebody that came back from the edge? I don't know, but those are really good questions. And the reason I'm still in MUFON and the reason I'm still involved in this research is because of questions like that.
Yeah. Wow.
That's amazing. All right, so I got a question for all three of you. Cookie, this will be a little off for you, but we're going to try it anyways. You had mentioned that you asked it to stop. my question to all three of you is, why did it stop? You're being taught something. Did they just kind of, and I'm not trying to be sarcastic or saying, did you, for Terry and Jim, did you guys like flunk the class or whatever? Now, Cookie, why did it stop for you? Because you seem to be working very hand in hand with them.
I was. We all were. But on the 5th time, it was like a repeat. And on the 6th time, it was a repeat. And we had a different female teacher. And we all just kind of said, we've learned what we need to learn. And we said it seems to be repeating. And then she left the room, came back and said, it's up to you. And then I was one of the 20 that were in the room that said, there's nothing else. You've told us everything you wanted us to know. If it's possible, don't take me anymore. And it's been 4 years. Knock on wood, I haven't been taken again.
Wow, that's incredible. Terry, as a child, you're being taught this incredible gift. Why did it stop? I mean, your abductions haven't stopped, but this teaching has stopped. Why? Did they give you any reason? Was it because they taught you everything that you wanted to learn, or did they say we're not ready for this type of a gift?
You know, I think I was too young to have a clue of really what was really going on. And of course, my parents are telling me this isn't real. This is a dream, taking me to doctors who also told me that it was a dream or something that I saw on television. And I wish I knew. I wish I knew more.
Do you think you were abducted as a teenager also? I mean, we know as an adult in the Air Force you were, but what about that middle time from being a child to an adult? Was there any teenage experiences?
Not a single one that I can recall.
See, that's very strange. You know, they're teaching you something, then they just go away for a while, and then they come back as an adult.
You know, the things that abducted me when I was 22 in 1977, I don't think they were the same things that were taking me when I was 4, 5, 6. I don't think it was the same being.
Jim, same question. Why do you think it stopped?
Well, I asked that same question of about 4 or 5 people. I've met people from New Zealand, from the East Coast to the West Coast. Why did it quit? Well, I mean, how far do they take it? If you don't have what they're looking for, then they'll put you back on the shelf. I think it's that simple. And I don't think it's an insult to any of us. They abducted us, they took us, they tested us, they decided who they wanted, who they didn't want. I have a friend of mine who has since passed away. She was used, and she's about 10 years older than me, and she spent a large portion of her life doing remote viewing for the government and claiming that she flew craft. So wow. I think I just didn't have what they wanted. So,
Well, I have a comment, really more so than a question, but maybe you guys can tell me whether you agree with this. I know in the 3 years I spent researching for the book Letters of Love and Light for Dr. Leo Sprinkle and reading through the people that contacted him, abductees, and that a lot of the experiencers and abductees felt that, whether you're taken when you're 4 or 20 or whatever age, that they sort of implant you, or I hate to use the word program, but sort of program you to kind of awaken to what it is they need from you at the right time. In other words, whatever the 3 of you were taught will be used or come to the forefront whenever it is intended to by whoever took you. Do you guys agree with that, Cookie?
Katie, can I answer that?
Yeah.
Here's my take on that. This happened to me back in 1958 through 1962. I tucked it away and never used it again, and never even thought, well, I thought about it all my life, but I kept it secret.
Mm-hmm.
And until I moved here and I decided to pull it, I decided to do some research as a 52-year-old adult, 55, somewhere in there. And it's kind of like the butterfly effect. It finally came out and I started doing the research. It led me to MUFON. MUFON led me to Phoenix MUFON, which is a huge chapter for the MUFON organization. It has brought hundreds and literally hundreds and hundreds of people together in like minds and unity. And I think that there was a purpose. Maybe I'm looking for a grand purpose because I don't want to think it was for nothing.
Mm-hmm.
But had I not been abducted back in those years, had I not tried to restart this thing 50 years later, there would have been, I think of all the people I would have never met. I think of all the people that would have never met each other had not I started or co-founded Phoenix MUFON.
Mm-hmm.
And so I guess there's a purpose in everything. My life right now is in a really good spot. I'm happy, I'm retired, and I'm moving forward, and I'm not giving up. But yeah, I think that's the reason. I think there's a reason for everything.
Yeah, makes sense. Cookie and Terry, did you guys want to touch on that, or?
Briefly, yeah. Terry, you want to go first?
Sure. I'll be quick. I'm going to let you go first. You go first.
Okay. We were tested on the fifth time I was taken. What I later, through hypnosis, realized this wasn't ET. It was not a human, but it looked like a human woman. She came in, we had taken a little break, and she was asking us questions, and we all thought she was human and at the time. And she asked us the questions we were not supposed to answer. And we all, for lack of a better word, asked if that was an exam. We didn't answer her, even though we could have, because we were still on the ship. We could have said it, but because they trained us so well, and I use that loosely term, we were told not to say certain things, and we didn't, even to her. And that's why I think when I said, and I wasn't the only one, I just said, I've learned everything that you've been teaching us, and now you're re-examining it. I said, it's enough. I've had enough. And they haven't bothered me since. I'm very fortunate. Doesn't mean they might in the future, but I'm pretty much set in what I can and cannot say. And they tested us. So.
Terry?
They never, it's really interesting, Cookie. They never, of course, I was young when I first met them, but I don't recall them ever saying, don't talk about this, don't. But interestingly, I didn't want to talk about it, and I didn't talk about it. I was 22 when I had this big experience in my life, and I waited until I retired because, hopefully times are changing, but I worked in the legal community, and who do you trust? Who do you tell a secret like that to, and really trust that they're not going to let it come out? And there were just, I don't know. I just did not want to talk about it even. So
sure, that's understandable. I would love to get an implant update, and I'm not making light of it. I know. Well, so Cookie, let's start with you. You said your implant was removed. Is that something you hang on to? Is it sitting on the mantle?
No.
What?
No. I didn't know I had it. I was at the International about 4 or 5 years ago, and one of the speakers was the podiatrist. He's since passed. Oh, my cat's in the way. I'm sorry. And I shook his hand briefly after he spoke, and he immediately felt that I had an implant, and I didn't know it. But he had a fella there that had a black room, and put a black light on you, and I had prints on me. I had them here, under here, like someone was holding my face, talking to me, and I had no idea. Then they gave the test, and it beep, 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 and everything. And the other two people I was with had the same thing, right in the same spot behind our left ear. And we had gone out the day before in the morning. The two of them had seen a UFO land. This was in Phoenix. It was like a preserve, a land preserve, and I hadn't had my knees done yet. And I just sat on a rock and waited. And they finally came back, and I said, "My God, you've been gone 45 minutes. It's 90 degrees. I'm thirsty." And he locked the truck. I couldn't get my water. And they said, "No, we've only been gone 10 minutes." And I wasn't going to argue with them. But the next day was the International UFO Congress. And that's when we found out all three of us had them. And they took the test in the little black room. And after a while, I didn't want it in my head anymore. I didn't want to be tracked. Evidently, it didn't bother me for a couple years, but then I had it removed. And funny thing, it disappeared from the lab.
Did you get to see what it looked like? And was this before Roger Lear? Was he involved? Or
Dr. Lear. Yeah, it was Dr. Lear.
Lear.
He was speaking there. And I told the doctor who removed it, I want it. He wouldn't give it to me. He didn't know what it was. He honestly did not know what it was. And he said, "I have to send it to the lab. I don't know what this thing is." And I said, "Okay, don't be surprised if it disappears." And to this day, I don't know. Were they tracking me? I don't know. I don't know. And right personally, I don't really care because it's out of me. So I don't care. I just now, I feel I'm not being tracked now. I feel safe. Not that it bothered me being taken, but I feel safe asking them not to take me, and that I won't be taken. I think they'll respect that.
Wow. Okay, Terry, what about you and your implant?
You know, I had no idea I had anything in my body. I retired from the state of Vermont in January of 2012. And in October of 2012, we left Vermont, came down to Dallas, where we have adult kids and grandkids. And I woke up one morning, 9 months after I retired, and I couldn't bear weight on my right leg. And I get all my care from the VA. I went to the VA. They took an x-ray of my leg, and they were kind of weirded out by it. And I'm like, "Can I see what you're talking about?" And they showed me I had an object above my knee, a square structure about the size of a fingernail with two wires attached to it. Wow. And then below my knee, I had this collection of what looked like, according to the radiologist, it looked like bone tissue, but right in the middle of my calf muscle. And it was just odd. And when I saw them, that was really the catalyst for me to write a book and talk about this, because that was validation. I knew that they really had put their hands on me at some time, on some date time. I don't know if it was 1977 or, who knows. I saw a guy named Stephen Colburn, who was Dr. Lear's assistant.
Yes.
And he had a booth set up in UFO Con in San Francisco, February of 2020. I was there, and I didn't know him from Adam. He didn't know me. He hadn't been to my lecture. I wasn't wearing, my badge or anything. And I went in and I said, "Yeah, I think I might have an implant somewhere. Can you check me out?" And curiously, he went right to my right knee, where those objects, ones below my knee are still there. And said, "You're highly magnetic in the calf of your leg. Something is highly magnetic." And I'm like, how can you make a bone magnetic? And he just kind of scoffs and says they can make a piece of wood magnetic if they want to. Interesting. So, my experience.
Can I say something?
Go ahead, Cook.
what was just said about, sorry, the name escaped me again, but he had that little black room. He was the one that tested the three of us.
Dr. Lear.
Dr. Lear. Yeah.
No, not Dr. Lear, the one that
Steve Colburn.
Yes, him.
Oh, okay.
I'm sorry, I forgot his name. But he gave us 5 tests and we flunked them all. So he had everything. He was testing us with little handheld machines and things and beeping and popping. And I had, evidently, when a gray touches you, he leaves a blue imprint. And you can take your shower and everything. It rubs off in about 10 days, but you can't wash it off. And I had them on my arm and under here, like I said, someone looked like they were holding my head talking to me, he said. And all 3 of us we all flunked it, which meant that we had an implant and other things on our body. I had something behind my knee. It wasn't an implant, but there was something back there. So it was the same fella, Terry.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Jim, you want to answer that question about implants?
Well, left brain, guys, empirical data. And I got some marks, the little scoop marks you're supposed to have. I've got a couple of those on my leg. I don't care if I've got an implant or not. I'm not going to go through the process of getting it removed unless I have a problem. And I don't have any of that. And I got problems, but not.
Welcome to the crowd.
Yeah. So, yeah, I don't think I do. And if I do have an implant in me, I think it's malfunctioning. So, yeah.
I love that, Jim. That's great. Man, what are you going to go to? Call us alien service repairman? Hey, come down and fix my implant, for God's sake. Hey, now I got a question for all 3 of you. So, and this is you kind of struck on something here, because I remember the movie Close Encounters of the Third Kind. And remember how Richard Dreyfuss, he was drawn to do something. He was drawn to do something that he felt was important about this subject. All 3 of you seem to be drawn to do something about this subject. I mean, listening to your stories, I mean, Cookster, you're drawn to study this, and there must be some kind of message for that. Terry, you, as much as you wanted to keep it quiet, you brought out, and you've written 2 books on it, and you just come out. And Jim, you have worked 10 years on this subject now. But all 3 of you are abductions. So my question to all 3 of you is, do you think something is drawing you to this, that you're being prepared for something? I hate to say you're the chosen ones, but maybe you are. That the 3 of you are being prepared for something even bigger than we know? Cookie, I'll start with you.
I believe so, Chris. Yes, I think so. I know so. But I think we were chosen because we were trusted by them. And things you tell me, I don't tell anybody. I will keep a secret. And I think they trusted me. And so far, I've divulged a little bit, but nothing that I shouldn't say.
Well, maybe I should get you under one of those bright hot lights, that the police do, and interrogate you for like 3 hours.
Truth serum.
Okay, we're just going to have to work you over one of these days to get the truth out of you.
It's pretty much set in my mind not to speak.
And stuff. How about you, Terry? I mean, you now got this passion, this obsession to start divulging all this, and your story just goes on. And because we've talked about stuff off the record, and I won't bring it up, but everything that's happened to you is just amazing.
I thought for a long time, like Jim said, I thought that I just flunked out of, whatever this program was. I didn't cut it. But I guess that doesn't mean I can't be a subject. I kind of feel like like a lion on a Serengeti plain, you know, when they implant them, and every so often they shoot them with a dart, and they take a nap and wake up with a hangover and probably sore all over, and wondering what the heck happened to me. Yeah.
Do you think something bigger is coming down the pike? I mean, do you have that in your back of your mind?
A little, yeah, I do.
Jim?
Well, that's a good question. When I think about that, I think about I grew up with 3 brothers, so 4 boys growing up on a farm in central Illinois, and enough has happened to me to where I'm on this show, and none of my other brothers have any interest in this, or they really actually they think I'm a little cuckoo, and they're right. But you know, I think that Chris, Katie, Cookie, Terry, I think we all have a role to play in this, don't you guys? I think that this is a huge orchestrated thing, and it's not just throw it against the wall and see if it sticks.
Right.
There's a reason why we're all doing what we're doing, and regardless of no matter how subtle of an influence we've had an influence. Cookie, you've influenced people, all of us, you know, Terry, Chris, both you Katies, we've all influenced somebody, and I think it's just going to continue. So yes, there's a reason why we're doing this.
Yeah, I agree. Good answer. I have a question for all 3 of you. I want to talk about lucid dreams, or if you get messages in dreams. I would also like to ask each of you if you experienced any other like physical symptoms, for example, that kind of plagued you after your abductions, and if you could speak on those. We'll start with Cookie.
Who do you want first?
Cookie, go ahead.
No. The answer is no. I've never felt differently. As far as my mediumship goes, I do get messages occasionally. Not in the last 4 years when I asked them to leave me alone. However, on my birthday last year, my birthday's in May, I did get a very lucid dream, and I was half awake, half asleep. And it was from them just wishing me a happy birthday. And I thought that was really weird.
Oh, yeah, that's awfully nice. What day is your birthday in May? I'm a May birthday as well.
I'm a Gemini.
Okay. The what?
In a year.
The next time you get abducted, tell them to bring a cake.
No, it was so real. I mean, it was really real in my mind, and I heard them. I always get messages on the left side. Oddly enough, that's where the implant was.
Right.
And I was just waiting for them to start singing happy birthday.
So do you think if you, Amanda actually had this question in the chat, if you wanted to be not, contacted again and you wanted to continue conversations, do you think they would answer you and come back?
Yes.
Okay.
They told me when I said that's enough. You're repeating yourself. There's no reason for us to be here anymore. This particular class, group of people. And I asked them if I change my mind, can I reach you? And they said, yes, just call us in your mind. We'll hear you.
Nice.
So.
Does anybody else want to answer that question about symptoms or?
I can't say that I've had any symptoms, but it brings up a topic of people asking me, and I bet Cookie, we all get this question. If you could wipe it all out and make it like it never happened, would you do that? And I wouldn't. I think it's a part of who I am, and I want to keep these memories. They're mine, and I wouldn't change a thing.
I absolutely agree with Terry. I don't have any symptoms, I don't think, but I feel like it's a privilege that I went through this, and I wouldn't change a thing.
I love hearing that from all of you. I just looked at the clock. We have less than 10 minutes left, and I have like 3 pages of questions still for all of you. I know we all do. On the symptom idea, though, it's not really a symptom, but I'm wondering if you have all experienced other paranormal things around this, or if it's strictly UFO events, because that is so incredibly common. Cookie?
Yes, absolutely. I'm a paranormal investigator also. When I moved into this house 17 years ago, this land in Irondequoit, named after the Senecas, was all Native American. And I had one in my garage. The first day I put the garage door up, I saw 6 of them in the garage. And they said, "We don't want you here." And I said, "Well, guess what? I'm staying. I'll take care of it. I'll take care of your land." And then there was a settler, a white man, with a wife and 4 teenagers. He told me that. I never saw the teenagers, and I never saw the wife. It was just him. And I've had that experience. Carol and I, my co-organizer for my UFO group, Carol and I do house clearings. We'll go in, people will call us and say, "I've got a spirit in the house. I want them gone." We can both see them. We go and we help them go into the light.
Wow.
It's a little part-time job that we do.
That's very cool.
For it. We never charge. People who charge for that, I have no respect for. This is a gift that we give.
I'm so with you on that. Terry, what about you? Other paranormal things?
Yeah, there are. I got a real problem with electricity.
Yeah.
You know, my wife and I have been together since 1974, and we've lived in many different states, and we've lived overseas. And irrespective of which house it is or what TV it is, our TV will turn itself on in the middle of the night. You know, not a lot, maybe once or twice a year. And, you know, we're so desensitized to it. Whichever one of us is more awake just gets up, goes into the room, grabs the remote, turns it off. And I always say, "Knock it off." I say it out loud. I don't know if it helps anything or not. I had computers die, electronic stuff just I have problems with it. I had a pacemaker put in by Medtronics. You know, a good company, a good product. And when I was in American Samoa, where they didn't have a cardiologist on the island, the thing went berserk, and it had a built-in defibrillator and started shocking me.
Oh.
So I had to be airlifted to Queens Hospital in Honolulu. So yeah, electricity and I just don't get along.
Yeah, it doesn't sound like it. Jim, what about you?
Yeah, I've had my share of paranormal experience, going all the way back from my early childhood, poltergeist activity and things like that, and all the way into my adulthood and even today. So every now and then I will sage my house and do things like that, just because I actually believe that stuff. So.
Okay, yeah, and that's like the 10th time this week I've heard about saging houses, and I think I need to do that. Just saying. Thank you for the reminder.
Jeez, I don't know where to start. All right, so here's my final question to all 3 of you. So if you guys have had so much experience with abductions, if you ever got abducted again, what would you say to your abductee? I'm dying to ask that question, because I think it's important that, you know, what kind of conversation you would have. Cookie, what would you say if you ever got abducted again? Would you say, "Leave me alone," or would you say, "Okay, what's next"?
I'd just say thank you, because I feel I've helped them out. I don't know if I'm blowing up my head because of that. I don't know. But I feel they took me because I was helpful. And It wouldn't bother me to be taken again. I'm not ready right now. I don't want to do it, but who knows? 3-4 years, I might see something on Earth that maybe they missed. I don't know. It's a question I can't really answer, but it wouldn't bother me to be taken again.
Terry, what do you think?
I think I'd ask them, can we have a genuine dialogue, a real conversation, as opposed to them just talking to me. I've never had that one-on-one, hey, how you doing? And exchange information like I would, you know, and I desperately would like to do that.
And Jim?
Well, I tell them to leave me the hell alone because I'm too old.
Okay.
No, if I got abducted again, I'd say, can you guys fix this or fix that? And if not, then
I kind of asked him how I could lose 20 pounds without working out.
There you go.
That would be my question to him. And go, hey, you guys know how to get rid of about 20, 25 pounds? You know, if you're going to take me and probe me, for God's sakes, take the fat.
So I don't think it's like liposuction.
Well, you never know. I mean, listen, they're sticking all kinds of things, and to me, take some. If you're gonna take scoop marks out of me, for God's sakes, take some fat.
Scoop some more.
Little liposuction wouldn't hurt.
So we have about 3 minutes left. So if each one of you, can spend just a few moments, what advice would you give to other contactees and abductees? Is there anything anybody can do how do you stop this if you want it stopped? What advice do you have?
Well, I was never probed. I was just put in a classroom.
Goodness.
Fortunate. Yeah. I've never had a bad experience with it. I tend not to like the word ET or really, I prefer off-worlders because I don't know. It cringes. It bothers me to call that because I've seen them up close. I've talked to them. They've comforted me. They've given me information. And I'm at peace right now with they talk.
Yeah, it sounds like you've really made peace with your experiences, and that's really good. Terry, what about you?
Well, I think times have changed. Today, I would tell somebody, go to a MUFON meeting because I thought I was special or unique, and I'm not. I mean, there's a whole lot of people out there like us. Yeah. And go to a MUFON meeting, meet some people that you have some things in common with, and talk to them.
Good advice. Jim?
I would just simply tell them to don't sit there and think you're a victim. Roll with it and work with it and do something with it rather than to just. I've seen too many people that have claimed to be abducted and then they sit back and they spend the rest of their life thinking they're some kind of a victim. There's thousands of us out here that's gone through this, and you know what? We've turned a bad situation into a positive thing, and so just roll with it the best you can.
I like that. That's a really good way to end the show for sure. Yeah, be proactive and make something positive out of a negative. I really, really do like that. I really appreciate the three of you coming on. It was such an honor to have all three of you here and to share all your experience. Oh, there's a cattail. To share all three of your experiences. I know, that's a hard thing for many people to do, and I find it a very honorable and brave thing to do. I want to thank my co-hosts, Katie Cook and Chris DePerno, as always. I want to thank all our viewers and our listeners. Thanks for tuning in. Next week, we have Terry Lang coming in with us, so that should be a wonderful show as well. We all love Terry. Thank you to our wonderful guests, Cookie, Terry Lovelace, and Jim Mann. Thank you to our producer, Bill Skywatcher, and our wonderful, awesome co-producer, Amanda Curran. Couldn't do it without you. And we will see you guys next Thursday. Have a great rest of your night. Bye, guys.
Bye.